In this episode of Dirt Road Divinity, we talk with Lynan Saperstein. Lynan is a quantum activator, channeling guide, and entrepreneur who specializes in strategic marketing and alignment for transformational properties. She is so much more than that, too. She believes in the innate good of people. And in this conversation, she shares her lifelong desire to empower others, especially the outsiders or those who may feel left out. She now recognizes her feeling nature as her superpower and knows the healing power of actually showing up for pain. From time unexpectedly living in India and Thailand after COVID hit, to her current adventure of planning for first-time motherhood, Lynan encourages the big factor, or being your biggest self, even when, especially when, it's uncomfortable. Please enjoy this conversation with Lynan Saperstein. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Dirt Road Divinity. I'm your host, Lisa Wade, and I am ecstatic to be talking today to Lynan Saperstein. Lynan, hi.
Hi, so excited to be here too.
I'm thrilled that you're here. We've had the opportunity to kind of get to know each other kind of tangentially in some aspects and directly virtually, I guess, and some others. And I'm always so intrigued by what comes through you. You are such a conduit of light and wisdom and information that's uplifting and encouraging to others. And I have a feeling that this hasn't always necessarily been the path. And I would love to learn a little bit more about you, your background, and how you came to be a quantum activator and all the work that you're doing in the world now.
That's such a big question.
Huge.
I'm like, where do I start?
My whole life.
It's interesting. Before we got on, you said I don't feel like you've always been that way. And actually, just as I heard you say it now, it has always been at my core to help others, to empower others, especially the outsider or someone who felt left out. I always wanted to include people. Even I have memories of, like, I did musical theater in middle school and high school, and people who were, question. I could see the uncertainty. I could feel, it's such an empath, such a highly sensitive person. I could feel people when they were doubting themselves, and even without thinking, without it being even intentional back then, I'd go up and I'd hype them up and I'd be their cheerleader, and I had people for years be like, that moment that you told me that, I don't know what I would have done if it didn't happen. So I really believe in the innate good in people. I believe in this innate programmed kindness that we have, especially if you consider yourself a light worker or just a light bringer, someone who feels deeper, is more sensitive to what is going on, especially in your communities, especially in the people around you. We have always been doing this work. And what has been possible is, again, with the awareness and the intentionality, for it to be more potent, for it to be more powerful, to be more focused on what is a bigger expansion point that I can share with this person, and what kind of reflection or mirror can I share to show them what greatness and magic I see in front of me that they can't see because they're clouded by whatever's going on for them. So I would put that out there right away.
What a gift for the world. The idea of going back all the way to like middle school, that having that being highly sensitive or empathic and being able to pick up on the needs of others and being willing to step in and be a mirror. Because I think you're right that so often people just don't even come close to recognizing their own innate amazingness.
Yeah. And then the other thing I would share too is, just now with more of the knowledge that I have of childhood development and the nervous system and sort of how the human body becomes wired and imprinted when we're children, a lot of highly sensitive people, a lot of light beings, we were in traumatic situations. We were coping so we could survive. And often, in order to survive, the energy went out to understanding what was going on around us so we could stay safe. And, I think that's an innate ability that I have because some of my upbringing was very unpredictable, very inconsistent. And so it was more important that I knew how everyone else was feeling than even checking on my own emotions. And so I developed that, and I already had it. I believe it was somewhere there in my core, but that ability to really understand my parents, my sister, my grandparents, my friends, and their reactions and responses to things. So I knew what to do next so I could feel safe. So I think I go to that as well, that a lot of my superpowers now are these sensitivities I built to feel safe, to protect myself, to survive through some things that were traumatic and really challenging, and were not normal for a young being on this planet.
I love the fact that you just described it as superpowers. That so often that sensitivity, that feeling nature, society will often tell us that's weakness, or that that's something to avoid or to numb out and stay away from. And you just described it as being your superpower, the thing that connected you with your inner strength. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. I mean, and I can only say that now because
Yeah,
I've been through the tunnel, and I would say definitely in my college years, there was numbing, there was silencing, there was, don't listen to your intuition. Literally, it was like whatever I could do to shut down my intuition because it wasn't serving me to do what I was supposed to do, right? Because I was on the path to being a doctor, and I was in pre-med, and I was miserable, but I ignored miserable. I ignored all the signs of difficulty and challenge and just all that. And now I can go back and see there were signs, get the heck off this path. But I was like, no, put up the blinders, keep going, keep focusing. But now I can say it's a superpower because I listen. Because those soft, gentle whispers of my soul to guide me, to redirect me, to maybe show me something is off, something is not in alignment. I listen, I respond so quickly now. Like I'm the crazy girl that wakes up at 3 a.m. having the dream and it's like, I gotta book the flight right now. It's just like, because it's so alive and urgent now that I know better than to push it aside or to shove it under or, oh, I'll deal with it later, because I know it's so active and it wouldn't be showing up right then if it wasn't the time for it. It's a superpower because it makes my life easier. It's a superpower because it makes my life more joyful. It's a superpower because it is this heartbeat, this core strength that I have. This is why I can hold space for other people. This is why I can channel for not just myself, but strangers, and give them information that they need right then. And I even say this on my sessions, and I'm sure I said this to you, Lisa. I'm a resource right now, but I believe everyone is psychic. I believe everyone has deep, powerful, intuitive abilities, but we've had versions of silencing and shutting down and not trusting and not validating our intuition. And so part of my sessions, part of my activations are bringing that back to life, bringing that self-trust back to life and anchoring it into a place where you're like, oh, I actually know what I need. I can actually listen to some of those whispers, and it's safe to, it's okay to. And then so people step into that place where it's okay to start hearing their inner wisdom and start acting on it.
And trusting it. that's one thing that so often I've talked with folks who are more apt to trust wisdom coming from someone else than their own inner wisdom that's always there and knows them better than anyone else could. And so the idea of helping to foster and encourage and empower that in others is such an incredible gift to give, to offer. I remember, I think it was the first time that I was in a meeting that you were leading a meditation. And there was no way I was missing this particular call. No way I was missing it. But I was at the car dealership having my car repaired. It needed a whole bunch of work done. And I'm like, okay, it's all nice and dandy when you can be in your meditation room with, your incense burning or whatever to listen to this. But I've got the waiting room of the Subaru dealership. And so I just went in with you right there in the middle of the world. And wow, was that powerful, that even with all the distraction and all the life going on around, that still you had this capacity in that call within that meditation to bring me in such a way that all of that just went away. And the full body tingles and, all the goosebumps and everything else. And I thought, okay, this gal's on to something here. She does have superpowers and I want to learn more. When did you start doing things like that? I mean, when I know that you're an entrepreneur and you've been a business owner for what, over a decade now?
For a decade. Yeah, like 12 years. I've been self-employed. I tell, like, I've been more comfortable admitting that I had abilities when I was younger. And, again, I wasn't leading group meditations, but, like I said, I was having one-on-one interactions. There was energy work I was doing on myself, and I didn't know I was doing energy work. And, my grandmothers were both very religious. And so there was this way that one of them in particular interacted with angels, and she taught me to speak to angels, essentially. But then there was this whole period of forgetting, because we're always in this beautiful cycle of remembering and forgetting who we truly are, and connecting to that divinity, connecting to that source energy that is life force, that is possibility. And so finding my way back into remembering who I was my journey through personal growth, and then eventually spirituality, but just everything going. And I always tell people, like, yeah, like, I look great now, and I've got like my partner, my dog, and my life, but I've been in the dark depths, and I've thought there's no way out of this. I don't know how you get out. And it's because I wasn't listening to my intuition. I was in a period of forgetting, and I was in those dark nights of the soul. I think it was seeing others, I was going to workshops, I was going to seminars, I was going to retreats. And I had one of my mentors say to me, "We can see you up here doing this." And I remember thinking, oh, hell no. Like, that sounds like, I love to be behind the scenes. I love to be supporting the leaders, the speakers, but I didn't see myself, even though I have a lot of leadership qualities, and I've always had them. And I think they planted that seed, and I hosted my first retreat. I started hosting workshops. I mean, I was doing one-on-one coaching, and so that was sort of growing, but I was building my confidence with it. But my first coaching company was called The Big Factor, and I didn't name it that. One of my clients did, because she said, "There's this way that you see me much bigger than I see myself. Even my ideas get bigger in your presence and when we're in session." And she said, "It's like you have this big factor." And that was why it stuck. And I was like, I like that. There's something about, greatness and being your biggest self, because especially women, we are programmed to shrink to fit. Like, how can I play small so you can't see me, so I can keep being loved? And I was mostly working with women exclusively then. And so it was this expansion point of like, oh yeah, I do see people. And it's almost sometimes a deficit because I don't see people's like pitfalls and foibles. I see their most magnificent
Greatness.
self. And all I am is like, you can be this. Do you not see this whole possibility that's right here? And they're like, how do I get there, Lynan? And now I have tools and now I have, a lot of my own abilities to help them see. Oh, it's been there all along. It's so simple. I can just step into it. I can have all of this stuff that I've been dreaming of and calling in and manifesting. It's just sitting next to me.
There. Yeah.
But Lynan happens to be able to see it.
Mm.
And I never thought of that as like a psychic or intuitive ability, but it was. It was. I saw these bigger versions of businesses. I saw these bigger versions of people.
And sometimes I would guess that even planting the seed of that bigger version being possible breaks something open for clients or breaks something open for people that it's like, whoa. And then maybe even an unwillingness to settle for the smaller version of themselves. Whew, that's huge. The only time well, not the only time I remember experiencing this, but it's typically trying to see the best in potential dates that maybe the best wasn't necessarily, what they were going to live into. And it can be hard sometimes to see so much good in and possibility in others. And then also recognize that what they are seeing is the fear and the limitation and all the cannots instead of the cans. How do you help people break through that?
I mean, what I've often said to people to really help them understand it a bit easier, I don't believe that people meet by chance. I don't believe in coincidence. I think there is this divine unfolding that's happening quite magically. And I've said this to people, you don't show up on my path unless you're ready to play big. So you can, I understand, I have it too. You can have your trauma, you can have your stories, you can have this healing that needs to happen, coming to the surface. But there's a reason that you've shown up in front of me. There's a reason that we've somehow connected and we've shown up on each other's paths. And you can step back and say it's too much. There's been many people who've done that. And there have been people who've come back years later and been like, I'm ready now. Yeah. I'm ready now. And I've had dear friends of mine who are like, I can't be that person. Lynan, no, until that person showed up. And they were like, what? And I mean, one of my best friends I remember, myself too, we were in cycles of unhealthy relationships. We couldn't hold our money. We were both going into debt. And she's like, how do I get out? And I said, of all my friends, you're the one getting out. You're the one figuring this all out. And now she's just excelling, expanding, just thriving. And she always says that you were the one, no matter what, you always held fast to you saw this version of me, even when I could not see it myself. And I think that's it. Like if you see it, hold it. See it for yourself, which is also, like one of my mentors, she said that to me recently because I'm pregnant. We were having a good cry fest about all the things. And she said, she remembers me when I was a bit of what I call the hot pink mess. I was just trying my best to keep it all together because I knew what was possible for me. And I didn't know how to get there exactly, but I knew that the steps would show up on my path. And she said, you kept saying, I will have this business. I will have this relationship. And she said, we didn't believe you. We thought you, like, hopefully you got some of your shit together. Yeah. And then she's like, but you did it. You did it. And I think that's the thing, like persistence. Talk to many of my clients about persistence this week. There's a learned behavior of apathy and accepting what is. That is okay. But if you feel in your core of your being that there's something bigger or better, or not even bigger or better, just something else that's meant for you. This could be relationship. This could be your relationship with money or abundance. This could be work or your career or your job or your business. This could even just be a relationship with yourself, how you love yourself. You know, there's something else. Why not reach for it? Why not stay the course until it happens? Not lie back and just accept what is, what you're being given. Because then you're stuck with what you got. And nobody likes that. And that's stuck. That's what's everyone's stuck. How do I get unstuck? Yeah, you change. Pattern interrupt. You create something new. You try something new.
So wild how that getting unstuck is so often outside the comfort zone, and the courage that it takes to go, okay, I have no idea how this is going to work out, but I've got to try, or it's like living in quicksand that just is pulling you under, because I don't think it's a matter of, yes, stuck, but we don't just stay stuck. It's like that energy just that starts pulling us, down, 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 and typically depression or whatever. But that's, to me, a much less safe place to be than right outside the comfort zone.
Heavier emotions, denser emotions.
Yeah.
You can't even feel light. You can't be the light if all you're sinking into is that version of darkness. And again, it's not wrong or bad. There is beauty and pleasure and deep understanding that can come from those dark places. I mean, I can share that. Like, my last breakup was devastating. Anybody who knew me then knew. It was like rug pulled out from underneath me, couldn't function. But I had an awareness in that space that was so gorgeous and so wealthy and rich, because I could feel all of it.
Yeah.
I could feel the devastation, and it could move through me. I could move until it completed. I wasn't letting it sit and get rotted and bitter in me. And I could see these points where it could have stayed and it could have got worse. And I chose to find light. I chose to let go. I chose to go do a yoga class and release as much as I could. I chose to scream and yell and cry and do whatever I could do to get it out of
my body. Thank you for bringing that up. That, when we talk about joy, and what a beautiful, or ecstasy, or whatever, what incredible experiences, but if we're not willing to allow ourselves to go into the depths, then the highs can't be as high either. And that it's only through going and feeling the depths that we can actually learn from them and move through them. And if we're numbing them out, they're just getting stuck and end up showing up often in, physical ways that aren't healthy. So thank you for bringing that up and having the practical example of sometimes life just kind of sucks. It feels hard, and that there's so much strength to be gained through that struggle if we let it.
And there are miracles that want to show up on that path. And I did a fast during that time, and I mean, every day a miracle was coming in. Like, things I couldn't have even conceived were showing up. And I was like, this is nuts. This is truly out there. And it was because I was showing up for it. And I never showed up for pain. I was so afraid of it. I'm so sensitive. I feel so deeply. It's like, I feel like I'm going to completely disintegrate. So I know what that is. But to show up for it and feel it, it really moves through me. And it was able to have a completion. It was able to have a full loop, and then I could be free from it, and I could start wherever I wanted.
And the fact that you acknowledge that there is the pain there on occasion, to look at your life through the last, I don't know, year and a half, right, as kind of an outsider, the travel and the living in exotic places and the love of your life and these, just ridiculously amazing photos of your experiences.
My backyard. Literally my backyard.
I mean, wow. And wow, I'm honestly, vicariously enjoying life through you sometimes. And to think, oh, well, she's just got to have it made. She's just maybe always had it made. But that's not the case. It's like you created a life that you could enjoy, and it's still taking twists and turns and shifts. And would you talk a little bit about like international living, how that happened,
Yeah,
your fella, and now being back here and looking forward to a whole new adventure coming up with
whole new
baby on the
adventure.
way.
Yeah, I mean, I always had a passion for travel, and it's incorporated into my marketing company. And that was my dream, was could I travel and make money? And then I
Mhm.
saw there were people doing it and was like, all right, how do I go do that like them? And that was what I did. And I started that around 2013, 2014. And it was very much like a trial. And but I was doing a lot of it. And I figured out through, again, a lot of mistakes, a lot of financial mistakes too along that way. I learned how to do it. And so, in many ways, I was prepared for COVID in a way that other people were not, because I had a location independent remote business and
Mhm.
I could work from anywhere, thank goodness. But yeah, we got stuck abroad.
Darn.
And we got on a plane in February, early February. We thought it would be fine. We weren't going to China. We thought it's fine. But we flew to India and to do this service trip that I'd always wanted to go on for my friend's nonprofit. And we were just enjoying ourselves. We were supposed to be a month in India. We were 8 months in India,
Wow.
and we were mostly in one city, very small town in southern India, in rural India. And it was hard for me. I'm not gonna lie. The jet setter had to sit in one house, like with kind of cruddy internet for almost 4 months, and just be, and to be still and to be with my nervous system. But that was the gift that showed up for me. And then, we had been efforting and trying to get out of India, but there was less and less options, and there was not even airports open in India. So the way to get out was very limited, until literally we had a miracle. We got a visa into Thailand, and had the opportunity we were going to potentially buy a business there. And so that was the opening that came to, and we didn't end up buying the business. So it was just dull. Like, we did these months of preparation and the contracts and the lawyers, and then we got there and it didn't even happen.
Wow.
And so we were there, and it was like, all right, how do we make the best of this? We're where we wanted to be, and just connecting with community. And we really were committed to really immersing ourselves in Thailand. And so we had Thai Tuesdays, and we were, practicing some of the language and really trying to see the sights. And we stumbled upon an amazing community, a beautiful place to live, and dropped in, like properly dropped in, and became a part
Mm.
of that tribe, and became, both participants and contributors, and got our dog, and we were really just, we were there. That was our home. And I think, there was this safe place for both me and my partner to explore new things, explore new identities,
Mm.
because no one there really knew us. And even when we would try to step into old roles of ourselves, it would kind of feel clunky or awkward, or we would get upset. It was like, I don't really want to do this. Why am I doing this thing? I don't, so there was these
Yes.
new versions of ourselves that were like being birthed and coming through. And so we had the space to play and explore. And we were living on a beautiful island called Koh Phangan in Thailand. It's
Mm.
very spiritual. It's also known for the full moon parties, which are kind of crazy. But on the other side of the island are yoga studios and detox centers and amazing workshops, tantra, all these
Mm.
going on. A lot of retreat centers. So
Yeah.
basically, I was at home, and yeah, and we're still very connected to that community. I don't think it's completely eliminated. I think there's a good possibility we'll be back there for a couple months a year,
Mm.
just because it feels like home. It is a special place for us. But yeah, I met my partner before COVID, like just a few months before COVID, and I had gotten to such an interesting place. I think, you know, being a woman, being a Western woman, being an older woman at this point, like in my late 30s, not married, no children, and was not romantically, linked to anybody. It made so many people nervous. It was just made them uncomfortable. But then I had to get comfortable in that uncomfortableness and, being asked all the questions and having, no good answers for them. I'm just flowing with my life. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I might get married. Yeah, I might not. I might be single for the rest of my life. I might have children. I might not. And I'm okay with whatever shows up and really meaning it. I think that was what my journey was. And also getting to like a really gorgeous place of self-love, like just feeling like I'm amazing and I deserve the best. And I'm not going to settle for this, this, and this anymore. I am only going to be in a relationship if it's amazing too, or if it's extraordinary and remarkable. And so was
Love
really
that.
holding out and got very lucky, I guess, or maybe just aligned. And also saw a lot of my unhealthy patterns with dating and picking the wrong guys because they were exciting and excited my nervous system, but were not sustainable beyond some period of time. and then stepping into like someone who felt like home and someone who felt like my match, and then being so terrified once I let that in fully, and then going on that journey. And that's been a wild ride for almost 3 years. And the accelerated incubator that was COVID. Because we were both so independent, and then it was like, we have to stick together to make this work, so we've been having some interesting, how close can we get? How can we create separateness? How can we create autonomy? How can we come back to ourselves in the energy and in our creations and in our space? So, and I met just a remarkable man who didn't need me either.
Yeah.
But got to choose me, and I got to choose him.
That is a magnificent space to be in. Being in that space myself, and feeling that alignment and what a difference true alignment makes in relationship, in such a way that you can grow together and grow independent. You do your growth, I'll do mine, but that there's confidence and strength in that growing, rather than it creating concern or insecurity or whatever in the other person. And such a beautiful thing to have found that. I'm excited for you.
and to be with your partner if they're in uncertainty, or if they're in questioning, or if they're in whatever process, and not taking it as an attack, or like, I've done something wrong, and thinking you need to change or fix yourself, and just being with them. And I think, again, that comes from confidence, and even I'm not perfect in any means. But just like knowing what I am and what I have, and wanting to be able to hold that same space for another person is such a gift. Such a gift. And we are back in the States, which was like a long time coming, because we hadn't seen family in almost 3 years. And we were engaged, and our families had not even met the other partner. Our parents hadn't even met in person, and we hadn't even met each other's parents. So it was just like this whole interesting piece. And then now we're having a baby. So it's just all the things all at once, and so divine, so perfect, and so aligned, and really what we had envisioned, maybe in a slightly accelerated way, but we're like, okay, all right, we find home, we find grounding, and we make it work.
So what was the connection or the draw to the part of Colorado that you landed in?
So I've actually never lived in Colorado. My partner lived here in
Mm-hmm.
Boulder for 5 years before COVID, actually right before we left. And our first date was an 11-day road trip that started in Phoenix,
First date.
Arizona, but ended in Boulder, actually.
Okay.
And then I flew out of Denver. So there was this like very sweet, because I was here with him when he kind of closed the full chapter. He sold his car after that road trip. Literally, the day we got back, someone bought his car from him, and then and then we went off he went to Hawaii, I went to Costa Rica, and then we went to Africa together. But there was some I think for us living on a tropical island away from a lot of city stimulus was like, we really don't do well in cities right now, like both of us.
Get it. Yeah.
And so, when we were house sitting in Denver last week, and it was a lot for both of us. Like, it was probably too much. So nature, and really understanding we need to be close to nature and have sort of wide open spaces. And it just felt right. And my top priority was finding really amazing midwives for the birth of the baby. And when they showed up here, I was like, all right,
boom,
I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I knew we had enough community here that we could make it work.
Wonderful. It's a beautiful area. When you talked about the need to be close to nature, I'm guessing, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing that there's an added sense of the divinity all around when you're in nature and have that near you. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of my work is elemental, and so I'm needing to be around earth. I need to be able to ground too much concrete. I lived in New York City. I don't know how I did that sometimes, but being able to earth and ground, having clean air, having clean water. We're not by the ocean right now, but just having the creek right here, and the different bodies of water nearby. It's just really important to me to remember our nature. When we connect to nature, we remember our true nature. And it's so important in the work I do. It's so important in my self practices. It's so important. Like our dog, I often say, is like our little like Buddha anchor, because if he doesn't move 3 times a day, like in pure nature, he's miserable. He's crying, he's fussy, he's just, because he was born on a mountain on a tropical island, and he's free and he loves roaming, and there is that wildness to him that he activates in both of us. And so I've always I grew up camping and hiking and things like that, but now I see how essential it is for my, not only just my functioning, but like my thriving and my expansion, and just to clear my field. Even like after I do an energy session, I go outside and I lay on the grass. I have to. There's no other way around it. And actually, it's really funny. We moved into this house and it's partially furnished, and there's a lot of fake plants. I'm looking at a fake plant right now behind the computer, but we're slowly we need to replace the fake plants and put real plants, because you don't get energy from a rubber plant. You get energy from something that is literally cleaning the air and is alive. It's alive.
Now, every month you put out energy updates about the month. And thank you for those. I've enjoyed them for a while now. How did those come about? And what can you just tell us kind of the story with those? If people wanted to connect with those, how might they do it?
Sure. So, I was during COVID, I started leading women's circles again, actually intuitively, even before COVID hit. I was I felt this rush that January, I have to host a women's circle online. I have to. And then, of course, the second week of the circle, like everybody's lives were going into shutdown mode. And we talked a little bit about Austin, Texas, but I used to lead one of the largest entrepreneur women's communities there. I was hosting at first one event a month. Eventually, we were hosting 5 or 7 events a month. Wow. And we had events for healers, but I was more known as like the marketing girl and the event community organizer and the MC. But I was always involved in these women's circles and things like that. And as I cultivated my own spaces online, because I couldn't lead retreats, and my retreats were always my sort of spiritual places, new things came through, so these activations, these sort of channelings. I've been doing self-channeling, like my own automatic writing and things like that, personally, and had done it on several of the retreats, but I hadn't done it in a program. And the more comfortable I got, this is so potent. This is so good. And so during COVID, I did a full quantum healer training that I had been thinking about doing for years. I just was like, my best friend and I, we both signed up. We're like, I'm just going to do this. And it was fantastic. But even at the beginning, I was super nervous to like have my mom see it. And I did some open channelings on Facebook Lives, and they just all went really well, and felt, again, the confidence, and just felt good to share. Mm-hmm. And so for my women's group, I did the first energy forecast, and it was, I don't even know how to explain it. It was just so well received. It was like, oh my God, can I share this with my friend? And it was like all these things. And so what I said was, in January, I will start doing them publicly, just like if you can wait. And so I did. I started that first January one, and it's just been so well loved, and it's brought me so much deeper with so many people in my communities. And even like my one friend's boyfriend is always like, but like, and he's Israeli, so he has kind of an accent. He's, but how do you know that it is coming? Like, what is the secret? Like, how do you know? It's so right. How do you know? I loved that question, because it's like, I honestly I don't have an answer for you. Mm-hmm. Even when I'm channeling it, I have no idea. Like I do a meditation, I get like my few notes, but then when I open, it's just all these other things come out, and even they impact my own life. Like I have to re-listen to the energy forecast to know what's coming too. But yeah, they're about 15, sometimes 30 minutes long, depending on how much I have to say. And it's a little bit about, the challenges that you might, or energies that might be heavier or more challenging for you during the month. And then some of the opportunities for growth and expansion, and what parts of our energetic body are being activated. And I think everybody hears it differently. Everybody kind of pulls what they need out. And for me, they are activations. I really realize they are shifting energy. They are moving energy. They are helping people get into alignment and connect to their core, connect to their intuition. And I love giving them out for free. I love that they're out in the universe. People have told me to charge for them for years now. And, I just love giving them away. I love being accessible. So you can get them on my website, elementalsphere.com. You can also follow me on Facebook and also get access there.
Perfect.
And we have a Telegram channel as well.
Telegram, yes. Fantastic. And we'll include all that information in the show notes as well. I'm curious, when you're channeling, is there what are you connecting with? Is it like your highest self? Is it angels, beings? I mean, do you know?
I'm always careful with this question, because the sort of, and don't even call it a lineage, but just sort of the traditions in which I've been taught this work is very pure, but I'm not channeling God. I'm not channeling source. I can't claim that. In fact, I believe I would explode if I was in fact doing that. I think what I believe I have access to is a unique channel that is my own, that is my own energetic access point to the quantum field, which is all, which is oneness, which is consciousness, which is all creation, all. And if your mind can wrap itself around, like when we talk about we are one, or I am you, you are me, I'm a reflection, it's a field that we all create. You know, our bodies are electric and magnetic. This is when it's quantum. You know, I always like, I actually have a science background. I don't usually go into super details with this, but we all have electric and magnetic energies in our physical bodies. You know, even just the way to move my hand, this is a series of electrical impulses to move nerves. And so we all have an energetic field around us. This is not, this is science. And we have, you know, magnetic poles, and then you have one. And if you're standing next to me, our poles, our magnetic and our electric energy is interacting. And then if you think of the collective, everyone on the planet, and the electric and the magnetic field that we create, and then you think of animals, and then you think of plants, and you even think of power lines and internet and Wi-Fi and all the things that are interacting, we have a collective field that has a vibration, that has a frequency. And I believe I just have an access point to that. That's all I believe. And I'm not channeling a person or a being or any of that. But I am very committed to keeping my field and my channel clean and clear and unobstructed. And a lot of that has to do with the way I take care of my body and what I ingest, but also the way that I clear my own field and that's a lot of the practices that I've learned from my mentors. And I think, you know, I think that's one of the biggest pitfalls of this work on the planet, is that it's very easy to be corrupted, and it's very easy to get your channel clogged with some gunk. And I'm very particular about who I let in my own field, and even who I interact with on a regular basis. So hopefully that answered your question.
Well, and I'll bet, knowing, you know, going back to the beginning of our conversation about being, you know, highly energetically sensitive and an empath, that once you start recognizing the energetic field and just how much the energies are commingling all the time with everybody you're around and just society in general, that could feel really overwhelming, or it could be wildly empowering in terms of your own boundaries and safeguarding your own energetic space. And I love the idea of connecting to the collective through yourself. You know, go whether it's going in, or, you know, maybe you see it going out but through you. I don't know, but to where it's still you relying on you to get there. That's huge.
Yeah, one of my mentors teaches this. You know, a lot of people like, oh, go ground in the earth. Like, I ground in the earth, but I ground in the earth through my own field, through my own energetic portals and filtration systems. So ultimately, I'm connecting to my own field. My own field needs grounding, which is a little bit esoteric, but that's what I'm doing. And so, yeah, it's fun. It's beautiful work. I'm so grateful I get to do it. I feel very privileged, and I feel very in a place of service. Like, I couldn't keep this to myself. And when I was feeling energetically ready, there was no other option but to share, but to give. And I tell people that, you know, the people who know they're meant to work with me know, and I don't have to convince them, and I don't have very many fancy sales marketing techniques, even though I know them all, for my energy work. And yeah, it's really such a treat, and I'm very excited to get back to doing them in person. I was doing those in Thailand, and so being able to ground here in Colorado is going to be very, very lovely to have in-person session.
That's fantastic. Well, as someone who has worked with you and both in readings but also class, um, there is activation that happens. There is, I can say attest to the fact that there is this bigger field of possibility that there's now a connection into, or that you begin to see with your own eyes, not just through the eyes of someone else. And that's transformational. That's huge, to help someone, or to even hold the mirror to open the door for someone to step into a bigger version of themselves, or a more soul aligned life, or version of what comes next. So thank you. When you talk about being of service, holy cow, yeah. It's hard for me to think of something that's a more beautiful service, than helping people be even more of who they really are at a
And
core.
again, I always say it's a remembering. I'm
Yeah.
not teaching you something you
Yeah.
don't already know. I'm just helping you kind of get rid of the amnesia and wake up to, oh, I'm amazing. Like, I'm spectacular. I have this gift. I have this. I know how to align this. I know how to take responsibility for this.
Mm,
I know how to grow through this. I know how to heal. I know how to surrender. And
mm.
then letting it be really effortless and full of ease and joy and grace.
Love that. So if people are listening, watching, and going, "Whoa, how do I get some of that? How do I connect in?" What kind of what are you offering these days in terms of client work or programs? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, it's a bit limited
Uh,
because we're getting ready for baby.
yeah.
But yeah, I do have private quantum sessions,
Hmm.
which if it's the first one, I do like body activation, and I do some packs of 3 for those, and they're good for 1 year. And there is a course that actually I recorded of my elemental work while I was in Thailand, and I'm going to finally release it, which is very exciting. And we haven't decided what the full name is, but they are a series of elemental activations working with um, the elements of the land and nature and connecting to move through your own challenges to find them as opportunities. So that'll be coming out soon as well. And I'm going to do, because people have been asking for them for a while, some bundles of some different, so the quantum heart activation and some clearing practices, and then some intuition games. So those 3 bundles will be coming out in the next month and a half. In my energy work. And so, yeah, and then I'm hopefully going to have a few little retreats coming up. One hopefully before baby, and then 2 next year, possibly in Thailand and Bali. So we'll see how it all unfolds, and maybe even Colombia. So yeah, some really exciting things on the horizon. But I always say the best way is to follow me on Facebook or Instagram, and to check out the website because all the offerings are on the website.
Perfect. Well, we'll make sure to get all those links and all that information available in the show notes so people can connect with you. You are such a joy. And I'm trying to remember when I took the Quantum Heart Activation program. Um, I believe I'm trying to remember the timing on that. Was that last spring?
It
Summer?
would have been sometime last year. Yeah.
Hmm.
And you also got one of the necklaces
Yes.
from my friend in Thailand,
Love
which
that.
are all made from things in India. So it was just such a sweet combination. And but yeah, we're working. I love collaborating with other healers and creators, and so there's always things coming down my pipeline as they show up.
That's fantastic. As you were talking about being in relationship and being able to hold, at first when you find that aligned relationship, it's kind of terrifying, or and there was, and I was moving into that kind of aligned relationship, during the time of taking this course, and it was wild how to activate those parts of yourself, that remembering that it's safe to let all this goodness and love in, that it's safe to let it in. And then to move forward from that place of confidence that it's safe no matter what happens. That was one of the, that's so incredibly freeing,
I
and
love
such
it.
a gift to give.
And what I often say, I worked with a client yesterday, and he has gotten to such a place where he's so soul himself. Again, that self-love, that divine love, that he has so much more to actually give. So he wasn't so taking and clingy. And again, no judgment, codependent. Like that's what we have. It's learned behavior to survive. When we fill up the divine cup, when we fill up our own cup inside, and we know how to take the space, we know how to check in, and we know how to rejuvenate the self, and we can pour that love out. And it's not so terrifying because it doesn't feel scary to give when you have infinite supply within you, and infinite supply always accessible in every moment.
And that, I think, is the perfect remembrance to close with, the idea that love is infinite. It's all around us all the time. And the more work we do on ourselves to hold that infinite love, the more that we can give from a healed place as well.
We remember our full capacity, which is infinite. You know, our birthright is abundance. Our birthright is this maximum expansion where love can just keep flowing in and out and in. Forever.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I so appreciate your time. And to all who are listening, please check out Lynan's information in the show notes. You can connect with her Facebook, Instagram, through her website. She's such a wealth of information and literally energy activation. And if you don't know what that means, go check her out because it's a game changer. It's absolutely a game changer. So thank you for your time. Thank you to all the listeners. I look forward to connecting with you next week as well. And in the meantime, go forward with love. Go forward with love.
Thank you for the honor and the privilege to be here. Such a treat.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in for this episode of Dirt Road Divinity. If you liked what you saw, please go ahead and like the video or leave a comment letting me know. Also, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel and be kept up to date when new episodes drop in the future. If you'd like to connect in between episodes, you can come follow the Facebook or Instagram pages just at Dirt Road Divinity. You can even email me with any show or guest ideas that you might have. And my email address is lisa@dirtroaddivinity.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to you tuning in next time.